Just the fat people who are stigmatised now, of course. It's the drinkers, too. They're coming for the drinkers. Sarah, you're a wine expert, and we heard this week that for a woman, working it out, if you have something over 1.5 bottles of wine, not a night, hang on, a week, and which is easily done, but a week, 1.5 bottles a week, you're over your limit. You are, quote, a hazardous drinker. I put it to you. Are you a hazardous drinker in those terms?
It would appear so, which is something of a worry.
Is it a worry?
To me personally, absolutely not, because I think that we each as individuals have a duty of care to the environment which we're in and the people that are around us. I know that what I drink is probably not within government guidelines, but equally I live a healthy lifestyle. I try and eat a reasonably balanced diet. I run, I exercise, 6-7 times a week. So I don't feel that it's excessive. I feel that, my life is in balance, and that's a good thing. I would like to make the point, actually, that last year I ran the Bordeaux Marathon, which is a wonderful event. I
bet you were desperate for a drink after that.
Well, it's even better because they give you something to drink on the way round. It's marked sort of every 2 miles or so by you stop at a chateau and you get a little drink. You get little pieces of... you get oysters and ice cream, although I was too slow to get the ice cream. It had melted by the time I got to that point. But it was a marathon that was instigated by 4 doctors who wanted to make the point that really life can be good fun, we can be healthy, but we don't have to obsess about what we're drinking and eating all of the time.
Well, that man, you actually ran a marathon during all that, did you? Is that...
Well, walked a little.
But I'm just thinking that's an incredible combination of playing on people's lack of willpower, on the other hand, sheer grit and determination.
Absolutely.
Which is, I think, what James was talking about, the combination of the two, all things in moderation, especially moderation. Alex, have we lost our willpower? Why aren't people feeding their children properly? Why are people in the leafy suburbs, never mind the high street's been drinking on a Friday night, why are people in the leafy suburbs drinking to excess? What's going on with this country?
I think it's about discipline. I think it's all about discipline. I live in a very disciplined faith, so therefore we have lots of dietary rules. Most people know Jews can't eat pork or bacon or ham. So why not apply it to drink? Why not apply it to food? If my daughter is going down the supermarket and knows that she can't pick up certain products that has pork gelatine in it or because it's not kosher, then perhaps I can also tell her, well, you can't have that because it's got too much sugar on it or too much fat. Obviously, I'm not going to tell my children that they can't drink because they don't drink. But I think that applies for everything in life. There is a place and a time for everything. There is a place and a time to drink. Judaism has a fantastic festival. We've got something called Purim, and we're told to get drunk on Purim. Now, a lot of Jews are embarrassed about that, but let's have a day a year where you really go out for it. It may be Purim, it may be Christmas Eve for other faiths, but I think there's moderation and there's discipline and there's a time to drink and there's a time to eat.
I
think what's happening is that we're losing the art of enjoying ourselves. We were talking in the green room beforehand about which faiths, deny yourself and so on. Christianity is Jesus was somebody who really enjoyed a drink and a dinner party and so on. But, as you say, very much in moderation. And I think what we now, in our generation, are doing is because we're losing any kind of self-restraint or moderation or whatever, we don't actually enjoy ourselves as much. Somebody who understood this very well was the Greek philosopher Epicurus, because he understood that life is here to enjoy, but you don't enjoy it by getting up in the afternoon and getting blind drunk. Was
he named after Epicurean delights, or is it the other way around?
That's where Epicurean delights come from, and that's been very much misunderstood as self-indulgence. That was not what he preached at all.
But these are the good things in life, that if you believe in such matters, have been given to us by the Creator to enjoy.
Exactly, that's exactly it. And if you, take a very trivial example, that young people are getting up later and later and later. Now, they're not actually enjoying themselves anymore because they've got shorter and shorter days. And we've lost that sort of sense of fresh air, exercise, good food. And I don't actually agree with Ursula that good food doesn't taste as good or better. I think a T-bone steak tastes better than chocolate cake. I don't think it's true that junk food tastes as good food.
I think it's a matter of choice, and I think, it's Alex, well, I think what you said was very interesting, because I think a big difference between people that are stuffing themselves with junk food and food within religious festivals is that it's all about a family environment. It's about putting a lot of love into creating a meal, sitting down and eating it together and enjoying the food and it meaning something to you, rather than just going to McDonald's and ramming a burger in your mouth. And, you know, I think it's that respect that you have for food and for enjoying yourself and for seeing it within a context as opposed to it just sort of being a way for a quick fix.
But isn't Jeevan Diol, isn't it about having a quality of life, enjoying the good things, whether it be a burger, whether it be oysters, whatever it is, fine wine, a nice pint of beer, rather than living to a ripe old but miserable old age?
Well, enjoyment and overindulgence are two different things, as we'll find out when we go for a pint afterwards. But what we're all dancing around is the fact that we live in a culture of excuses. I think it's reprehensible for somebody to say, oh, there are parents who don't know how to cook good food. If you don't know how to cook an egg or steam broccoli, you have big, big problems. Equally, to say, well, you know, although we all have busy days and we work, my mother would have been horrified not to cook us a good meal. She worked very, very long days and sacrificed herself in order that her kids should understand what good
Times seem to have changed, don't they?
Time hasn't changed. She was out of the house 12 hours a day. But she or my father made sure that we ate well. Why? Because our view is that parents sacrifice themselves for their children. You don't go out for a pint on a Friday night. You stay home and
you exert your willpower, which is what we're talking about. You're a personal trainer, Simon, aren't you?
Yeah.
So presumably the people who come to you have got no willpower.
Variable, very variable. Have to be careful.
Is this down to willpower and self-control? Just if you have a blowout now and again, and most of us do, go for a run.
You know, it would be really nice if there was a single magic bullet, but I don't think there is a single magic bullet that's going to solve this problem. It's a combination of things. We do live in a society that is now programmed for instant gratification.
Can I stop you once? Solve this problem. Is it a problem?
Absolutely, yes.
But it's personal choice, isn't it?
I don't think if you talk to the average person on the street who is obese, and nobody wants to have that label, if you talk to them and say, do you like being obese? Do you enjoy this choice that you've made? I don't think people would say they do.
I don't mind.
But you're not obese.
I am. I am. By the medical sort of definition of obesity, I'm obese.
So is probably the entire England pack. You know, by
Well,
the
yeah,
medical
they are.
definition.
I mean, they did a study on the rugby teams, and they said most rugby players are clinically obese.
That's actually not true. That's if you use the BMI scale, they may be considered
Which is
obese,
what the government
but not.
uses.
Yeah, that's a scale intended for use with the general population, not sports people who are actually very fit.
Majorly muscled.
Yes.
Well, regardless
So
of
it's
that, I
misleading.
am obese. I sit here, I am obese.
Okay. And there are a number of people in the country who are in that situation. Many people who don't actually know that they're obese at the moment. But it's definitely not their choice that they wanted to do that to themselves. I don't think people wake up on their 25th birthday and
Ursula,
say...
you seem quite relaxed about yourself and happy in your own skin.
Yeah, I mean, I
Do you need a personal trainer? I can get you in a number of
That depends. If you're prepared to do it
Well,
for
if you're
free,
happy where
maybe.
you are.
But you're happy how you are.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually see it as this enormous...
But I think a lot of people aren't happy and a lot of people are getting
But
health
isn't that because we're
problems.
making them feel
No,
unhappy
because
about
they're
it?
actually suffering higher levels of high blood pressure. It's not fun having a heart attack in your 40s and in your 50s. And people aren't actively choosing that. It's a consequence. It's not an active choice. And it's also because when you're kind of in your 20s and maybe you're drifting down that route, 40, 50, 60 seems a heck of a long time away.
What's it a consequence of? Whose choice is it then?
It's a consequence of the pressures that are actually influencing us. So it's actually much harder to make the healthy choice. It's much harder to say, let me get off that stop, one stop earlier, and I'll walk the rest of the way into work. We're programmed into taking the kind of very easy, inactive, unthoughtful
it's not our
choice.
fault, actually. We're programmed into thinking, there's too many junk food shops, that's why I'm fat. It's endemic in society. It's exactly the same
There's
philosophy.
a lot of pubs. There's a pub on every corner, but you know.
That's why I drink so much. You don't. You drink so much because you walk into that pub and you order a pint. It's the same philosophy that got rid of winning in sports days at school because they didn't want to have any kids that didn't win. Taking part is just as important. It's not my fault I lost. It is your fault. You're not as good as the next bloke. It is your fault you're fat. You eat too much.
I never thought